Welcome back, everybody, again with another webinar, but this time it's going to be on marketing in construction. I have a special guest today, David Horesh. David is joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel. Him and I met here on LinkedIn last year. Thank you, David. David is Director of Marketing at 4M Analytics. He is an IDF veteran. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's Israel Defense Forces veteran who's been transitioned into tech over the last 3 or so years. He's been in the space for over 3 years, and he's been a great advocate for marketing and the opportunities that exist the past couple of years, and especially now in 2023. So, David, thanks for joining, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I got to say that, echoing what you said, we met on LinkedIn. We've never met face to face, but we've
David, let me tell you,
already built a relationship, already talked to each other a few times. You've been on our podcast. We've talked on LinkedIn. We've echoed each other's posts. So there's a real relationship here.
David, you got a place in my heart, man. Let me tell you something. Last August, when I was a couple months into this real big LinkedIn campaign, and you gave me an opportunity to jump on your podcast last August, I remember. And let me tell you something. Since then, I've become a lot more comfortable. I've been doing I've been invited on a lot of podcasts. I have a couple scheduled in the coming weeks. I've been doing my own webinars. And for those of us who have been on these live cameras or podcasts, rather, it's not easy. It's not easy, but what we're going to talk about today, this is the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today, is that it's 2023. Marketing is more important than ever, especially in construction, right? We have so much turnover. People aren't staying at companies for too long anymore. But yet, it's a massive generational gap as well, right? And a lot of people are complaining, I can't find good people, and the list goes on with complaints. So Here we are, and LinkedIn is a very powerful platform. There's days where I'm scratching my head and I'm like, how do I find my ideal client? But you got to keep sticking to it, and you got to keep going, and slowly your word gets out there, and you build authority on LinkedIn as well. So, but that's for me as an individual, right? And then there's the companies. There's so many opportunities with social media and marketing to try to find, especially a younger generation person who hangs around on social media a lot more, right? So why don't you get into, let's talk, let's first start talking about yourself and how you got into this business, and why don't you take the mic and go with it?
Yeah, sure. So like you said, I spent a bit of time in the Israeli military and doing all sorts of stuff like that. But eventually I looked for an industry where things were moving at a much faster pace, which I know may sound a bit weird when you're doing all those crazy things in the military that are very high adrenaline, let's call it. But I figured that I want to make a different type of impact in the world. So I started dabbling in tech and founded my own businesses, my own agency, my own go-to-market / biz dev agency, helping startups here in Israel work with Fortune 500s all over the world. And then one of my customers, 4M, which was a company of about 10 people at the time. So Itzik, the CEO, kind of said, hey, I need your help with doing some marketing. And I kind of unofficially joined the company until it became official. And from that 10 people, it turned into a company of nearly 100 people. Wow. And one of the best decisions I've ever made. And that's kind of when I entered the world of construction. And unlike a lot of other industries like cyber and finance and medical, where there's kind of a lot of content and a lot of people who are kind of speaking and voicing their opinions, I didn't see that in construction. It was very, very, very quiet. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, how am I not able to find all these keynote speakers in the industry? And I just realized that it was a different industry that I was entering. And I just kind of saw the opportunity and I said, wow, this is crazy. And there's so much to be done here. So, and that's how we kind of started doing everything that we do at 4M Analytics. So on the marketing side, of course.
There's two ways to look at what you just said right now, and so there's not, you didn't see too many people marketing, right, in construction. So
No.
there's two sides to that. Either you could be the pioneer in that space,
Yeah.
or you could be that person who's one of millions of people who tried it and it just wasn't successful, right? So there's two different ways to look at that. But I think both of us can agree that this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, right? So it's only going to get stronger.
100%, 100%. And like we're maybe just a sentence about Forum Analytics to give some people context. We're creating a national map of subsurface utilities. So if you're in construction, you're a project manager, project engineer, you understand the challenges, whatever type of stakeholder you are on the site. So we're using satellite imagery, artificial intelligence, and a bunch of other tools to basically create the Google Maps or sort of ways of the subsurface, so anyone can kind of pick a place on the map and immediately see what lays beneath the surface. You can just go to our website and check out. Like you can immediately start playing with the platform. It's pretty easy, pretty simplistic. And that's all I'll say about that. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's a very, very niche field. So anyone who's kind of been challenged by subsurface utilities will mostly consume content and learn new things from physical events, from associations, big conferences, small conferences, or a lot of word to mouth. And it was very, very difficult finding people online who were talking about subsurface utilities. And it's like you said, you have two choices. You can either join what's being done at the moment, or realize that there's a huge opportunity here to take advantage and be the main voice in the space who advocates for the challenges of the industry. And I think that that's what we as a company kind of realized, and we said, okay, like we're definitely gonna take advantage. And I'd say that it also sort of differentiates us because, first of all, we were the first to start talking. Like I think that a lot of people started more and more kind of saw what we did, and they started following in our footsteps, so to speak. So now we're seeing a lot more content on LinkedIn and generally online around the space. And I'd like to think that we have a part in it. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I think there's so many niche spaces in construction, construction management, estimating. I don't know, like there are a million other examples that I think there are companies who specialize in these spaces, or there are professionals that specialize in these unique positions, and that they're able to be right now the main voice of that space and be the kind of authority figure online.
That's great. That's an awesome explanation. Just to backtrack a little bit, how does 4M gather their information to provide to contractors?
Oh yeah. So okay, let's get a bit into the details about 4M. So what we do is we have a variety of sources for utility data. Some of that is the records. So, for example, we've collected, we've currently mapped Texas, California, and we've got next states, Florida, Colorado, and New York City coming up that we're going to create subsurface maps statewide for them. And the way we do that is we've collected millions of records in these states. We've, these PDFs, these hard copies, we've digitized them, put them online, geo-reference them. And then on top of that, we have another layer, which is imagery based. So we have access to 60, 70 years of aerial and satellite imagery. And in this imagery, we've developed basically detect, indicate towards the existing of subsurface utility. See the imagery, excavators, earth movements, valves, manholes, stuff like that, able to take that evidence and create a map out of it. So basically verifying the utility records. And then those two together turn into what we call the 4M map. So our platform. So like I said, anyone can go online right now, sign up and get access to their project's utility data. All you need to do is draw a polygon, draw your kind of where you're working at the moment, and request the data, and you'll get it. So
that's awesome.
Pretty simple.
Awesome. And let me tell you something. Coming, spending many years out in the field as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many utilities. I know I talked about this on the podcast. I can't tell you how many utilities we hit, and all it takes is for a primary electrical line to be marked several feet off, and the operator's digging in, and no matter how slow he's going, it's covered with dirt, right? And you'll rip it up. And I mean, I remember I knocked that. Well, I guess I should say right, because I was the lead guy on the project. But we as a team knocked out 2 neighborhoods once, and it was crazy. The fire trucks were coming. We knocked out complete businesses, everything. They had to come and they had to switch the primaries to the secondaries to bring the power back to the neighborhood. It gets scary. Thank God nobody got hurt, but it's really scary. So I think this technology is coming at a great time. Well, I wish it was around many years ago, but GPS wasn't either. So getting back into marketing, you're the director of marketing at 4M. So, you're spending your entire days on the whole marketing topic. So, let's start off with, attracting talent, right? Which is one of the major, or maybe let's go like this. What do you feel are the biggest advantages today in 2023 for marketing for contractors?
Well, I'll tell you something that I think that I'm not seeing enough of in the industry at the moment. So as a marketer in 2023, I'm a big believer that if it's not in your phone, if you're not swiping, let me redefine this. If you're not getting in front of people in the place where they spend the most time, they don't know you exist. Or in other words, if you're not in this place where they're swiping, where your customers, your future employees are swiping, they don't know about you. So I'd say the biggest opportunity at the moment for contractors and any other organization in the industry is to build a presence in that space. And I think that a lot of the GCs and any other stakeholder are pretty scared, and there are a lot of reasons for it. I think first of all, like you said, there's a generation gap. There's that generation that they're the quiet professionals. They've built their persona and their brand in the conferences and in the physical interactions, but the new generation. And I'm not talking about college kids. I'm talking about professionals who have been around for a decade or two in the industry. They have realized that having an online presence is important. But because their managers and their supervisors don't understand it, so they're a bit timid of investing in it. And I think that's a huge loss to the industry, because I think that organizations, GCs at the moment that will build a brand online will have and invest in it. Their presence, it's like a land grab at the moment on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, for example. So if there's nobody else talking about your subject, your niche, you can be the first one. And if you're the first one to talk about it for long enough, then every time that someone goes on LinkedIn and just types in construction management, and you're the guy talking about construction management, you're the guy they're going to find. And if you're the guy talking about water and wastewater infrastructure, and someone looks for that, you're the guy they're going to find, or you're the organization they're going to find. And like you look at all these giants like Kiwit, Acom, Fluor, like all of these known brands, we're seeing 100 people companies, 50 people companies that are putting out content at a, let's call it an enterprise level, and they're making a lot of noise that gives other people in the industry the feeling, well, maybe they're big. But then when you kind of dive into the organization, they're not that big, but they're showing professionalism. They're showing that they're working on interesting projects. And I think that a lot of GCs, no matter what size they are, can do that and can brand themselves in a way that both the project owners and any other stakeholder that's going to work with them is actually going to want to work with them. That was a bit of a rant, so I hope it made sense.
No. I mean, listen, it builds your reputation, right? So, and it builds trust. And you know, I mean, 20 years ago when I started, it was all word of mouth, you know. I mean, I remember when I started with my first company, one of the first conversations was, who do you know? And I said, well, what do you mean, who do I know? It's because people don't work for this company unless you know somebody in the company. Yeah. And it's like, well, I mean, come on. This is, you know, but like now I look back 20 years later and it's crazy because people, it's just a completely different mindset. It's a completely different space, you know? So again, you know, you're talking about these big mega companies and I personally feel that this is a major part of why they're so big, right? Because they're able to attract that. They're able to bring that attention. When you swipe through your phone, they're one of the first contractors that you see on your phone, right?
Yeah.
So it's the perfect way to put yourself in front of an ideal client as well as a smaller contractor as well, right? So, you know, you want to find your
100%. I think that that's exactly where the opportunity lies at the moment. That anyone, any organization, no matter how small you are, if you invest in your marketing right now in construction, in your digital social media marketing, you have a very good chance of creating major opportunities that would probably not be available to you through word of mouth if you don't have that network in place. Because the reason why, and this is my personal belief, that our personal networks are built on trust. And I think one of the biggest things in the construction industry, and you hear this from everyone, we're reliable, you can trust us. Every organization in the industry speaks that way. And the reason why they speak that way is because it's important, especially in an industry like ours. It really is important. So if you haven't built that relationship, if you haven't built that trust, it's very difficult to come in and win an opportunity where, just for example, like if we're talking about a project owner, that project owner has the 5 people he's going to call once he kind of releases a project and said, yeah, we're going to do this. He has the first 5 people he's going to call because he trusts them, right? We know that's how it works. And the question is, how do you get into that circle? So if you don't have that personal relationship, it's going to be very, very difficult. So what do you do today? And this is, I think, what most people aren't doing. Most of the small contractors aren't doing this yet. They can go on social media and invest in their presence. They can be in front of their target audience, whether it's the owner, the GC, the subcontractor. They can be in front of their audience daily, talking about things that this audience cares about and building trust that way. The same way, Jerry, you and I build trust with each other. I saw you post a few times on LinkedIn. At the beginning, I didn't even know your name. I didn't know who you were, right? But then I kind of, okay, this post is interesting. I'm going to like it or comment or whatever, but I don't remember your name. Happens a second time, the third time. It's like, wow, who is this guy? Go into his profile, read who he's about. And then, okay, now I know what Jerry does. And you know, this has happened to me before. Like there's sometimes these, like a lot of people, especially in our industry, they don't like, they don't comment, they don't share, but they see everything that you do. And I'll give you an example. And this is when I really discovered the power of marketing. This happened to me before 4M. when I had my own agency. I did some work in the defense, homeland security industry. And we're sitting at home one evening, 9 p.m., and I get a call from a VP of a major defense tech company here in Israel. Like, I haven't spoken to this guy in a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Haven't spoken in a while. And he doesn't say hi. He doesn't say, how you doing, David? He asked me, David, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, it's a pretty weird question, like to get a call 9 p.m., haven't spoken to a guy in 18 months. And the first thing he asked me, what are you doing? I'm like, please explain. And he's like, every day I wake up, I open my phone and I see your face. And I see that you're doing something. And every day I see you doing something different. So I'm calling because I want you to tell me what you're doing. And then we got into a conversation about what I'm up to, and he's just left his position and he's going to go consult to a few startups. And we were thinking of maybe collaborating. And that's when I kind of realized this guy, he doesn't engage with my content at all. He doesn't like, he doesn't comment, he doesn't share, he doesn't text me privately, hey, I liked what you wrote. He doesn't do any of that. But every day he wakes up with my face. And I think this is what there's a term for this. It's called dark social. So when we post on social media, like, and this is like any GC that's going to start marketing, I know it's going to happen. They're gonna have someone put together a post, like the first post that they're gonna put up on LinkedIn, and they're gonna spend 2 hours writing it, and it's gonna get 3 likes. And then that person is gonna think, nah, it doesn't work. And it's just gonna quit it because they got 3 likes. And it doesn't work like that, because the term dark social refers to everything that you don't see. You got 3 likes, but there were 100 other people who saw that you're doing something new, but they didn't engage for whatever reason that is. Because they were about to, but then, I don't know, their son suddenly called them to play a game, or because their boss came in and they were supposed to be doing something else, or whatever reason that is. Or just because they're shy and they don't want to be seen engaging on social media, which is also okay. But they read and they see. And sometimes it's not even about the specific content that you post. It's not even about, like, sometimes people will constantly see your posts about estimating or whatever it is, but they don't care about estimating. But if they constantly see you talking about it, and suddenly a friend walks into the room and says, hey, do you know a guy who can help us with estimating? Yeah, of course, I know Jerry. And it's like, but he doesn't care about estimating, but he knows. He knows because he sees you every day talk about it. So he knows that you're the guy who knows everything about it.
Right. Yeah, that's. I mean, all great points. As you're talking, I'm taking notes over here for additional questions and just personal notes for myself as well. Right. But speaking of leaving off what you just said right now, taking notes, and how long do you feel it takes if somebody's posting, let's say, 1 post a day, 5 days a week, which is typically what I do, right? There's people who post twice a day,
that's
7
really
days.
great. Most people don't do that much.
Right. So you got to be really creative too, right? I mean, I never knew anything about marketing. I never knew anything about branding. I never knew anything about sales until the last, year and a half, right? So, how long do you think it takes to start picking up steam? As long as you're writing good content. I mean, the first couple of months, you're not going to write good content. But the problem is that everybody cares about what other people are thinking, right? And people need to realize that most people aren't thinking anything about you. They got their own crap going on in their life, right? They can care less. Yeah, you can write some. I mean, listen, people should respect other people's content as well. One of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody is trying to sell their services on my content page, which really gets me upset. Yeah. But if you're an individual and you're an employee of another company and you just want to post something here and there, one, your bosses shouldn't be getting mad because you're not giving away any secrets, right? And you really shouldn't be giving away anything personal in the company as well, because that comes with its own its own roller coaster ride. But how long will you think
Yeah.
it'll pick up to start picking up steam? David, I think your Wi-Fi is a little off right now. Can you hear me? Hello,
It's, I can, I
David. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Did you hear my question?
Good. I know I didn't hear the question.
So, so what I was asking was, if somebody's posting, let's say one time a day, couple of days a week, how long will you expect for it to pick up steam where, they're getting more than a couple of likes?
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean for me it's not about likes, it's who's DMing me in my inbox about, hey, what are you doing, but
exactly.
what are you doing in the right way, hey, what are you doing, can you help me, let's jump on a phone call. But if you're an individual and you're just trying to build a presence, how long would you, I mean, for me, it's the long game, right? You got to just keep going and going and going. I mean, my engagement that I'm getting today is a lot different than when it was 7, 8 months ago. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, so there's a lot to unpack here. You talked about, you mentioned a lot of things here. So I'll do my best to answer. Like I
Yeah,
think it
sorry
was
about
one
that.
question,
Yeah.
but about 7 questions as well. So I'll do
I'm
my
still
best.
new at interviewing, so be
Yeah,
patient with me.
it's all good. It's all good. It's great content afterwards for the clips.
Yeah, right.
So let's start with how long it takes and why it takes why there's a journey here, right? So first of all, the first post that you're gonna write is gonna be can we swear here? It's gonna be shit. Okay.
I don't know. We'll go for it.
So it's not going to be good. Okay. And my personal story is that the first I set up a nonprofit for the unit which I served in the military, and I wrote a kind of it was Facebook, so I wrote like a page and a half post about it and like the mission and the vision and the yada yada yada, and it got 4 likes, and I was pissed. But then I thought about it. Like, if it got 4 likes, like I felt that I failed, right? But if it got 4 likes, nobody saw it besides me, and that those 4 people, and maybe a bit of their networks. So it's like nobody sees you fail. And I think that the reason why it takes time to build a presence on LinkedIn, it's because it takes time to figure out what you're going to talk about and to kind of build that content creation muscle. And it's like, and you see this with the guys starting in the industry, that I love the guys who are used to putting together bids, and then their post comes out looking like a bid. And that's not, like, from a language perspective, that's not how you structure a post on social, right? It's not. There's a different rhythm, and there's a different structure, and there's like, you need to have a hook at the beginning, like, to get them drawn into the post. Like, it takes time to figure out your own tone of voice on social media to get people engaged with your content. And I think that's what takes time, because the moment the algorithm is code for the audience, starts to like your content, and the algorithm picks up that the audience is engaging with your content, it will distribute it to more and more people, because it realizes that it's good content, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that, really depending on who you are, right? There are people who kind of first thing that they write, they kick it off and they go viral, right? But most of us aren't like that.
No.
Okay. And I'd say that it takes about 6 months to kind of start building that muscle. And think about it like going to the gym, right? You don't go to the gym and after 4 weeks are like, hey, look at my muscles, look how strong I am. It doesn't work like that. Like, it takes a year in the gym to see some meaningful results. And sometimes not even, depending on your body type and depending on all of that. And it's exactly the same with content creation. It's not, I'm going to put out 1 post a week. I'm going to do 1 post a month, but it's going to be really, really good. Think, if I were to put that in gym terms, right? If I would say, yeah, I'm going to work out once a month, but it's going to be a really, really good workout. How does that sound? Pretty ridiculous, right?
It'll take you 20 years. Yeah, right.
Exactly. It's not. It doesn't add up, man. It doesn't add up. So like I said, it really does take time, and there's really effort and discipline that you need to put in. And I think, going back to what you said, you mentioned the likes. We're not doing it for the likes.
No.
We're doing it for the opportunities that come with it, whether that's career opportunities, whether it's speaking opportunities, whether it's business opportunities, whatever you're going after, right? Like that's the goal. Like for me, I want to be in conversations like this, helping people out, right? I want people to reach out to me for me to learn from them and to have conversations with people that I've never met and that I can learn something new from them. So that's how I measure my success. And if I'm able to create that, it doesn't matter to me if I get 15 likes on a post or if I get 100 likes on a post, because I've had some that are like that and some that are like that, and that's fine. But the question is, what happens in the backstage? That's the question. And if Jerry is getting opportunities, business opportunities from posting, it doesn't matter if he got 5 likes. It just doesn't matter.
I mean,
right?
it's yeah. So I mean, likes are kind of important, right? Because it does pick up the algorithm as well. Like I'll have posts where I have 50 likes on it and it'll reach 1,000 impressions, but then I have posts that hit 15 likes and I'll have 5,000 impressions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, trying to figure out this whole algorithm thing is a big headache, and I can't figure it out. What I try to do is I try to post a couple of times a week, knowledge that I have based on conversations that I've had, and also my field experience and also my estimating experience as well, right? And that's it. And that's what I try to do the most. Sometimes I get 500 impressions. Sometimes I get 15,000 impressions. I've gotten 35, 40,000 impressions sometimes. So doesn't really
I got to
matter.
tell you, Jerry, that one of the things that I love about your content, and I think this is a big mistake that a lot of people are making right now, that they create content that is about them. I won this award. I participated in this competition. I won this project. That's okay, because like your network wants to enjoy your success and to kind of say, hey man, good for you. But it's an advert. And what's great about your content is that it's, hey, this is me, Jerry. I'm talking from my experience. These are the challenges that I'm having today. These are the problems that I'm trying to deal with today. And this is how you maybe you can get something out of this as well. Maybe you can help me. And it's a very authentic human interaction. And I think I see LinkedIn as the biggest networking party that has ever existed, right? So think of yourself, right? You're at a party, right? You're going around shaking hands with people, and there's always going to be that guy who's going to walk up and say, hey, I'm a VP from whatever large GC it is. I graduated from Harvard. I did this, that, and the other. I was on that amazing bridge project in New York or whatever it is, and kind of tells you how awesome he is. And you look at that guy and you said, man, like I don't want to be friends with you. Like that like I want to, like, you want to have a human interaction where you're kind of, the engagement is like you're completing each other. Like, this is me, this is how I can help you, and then he says, this is me, this is how I can help you, not this is me, look how I'm great. And people
No, go ahead, finish.
I was saying, and people that create that type of content on LinkedIn of look how great I am, they're gonna lose, because nobody will, like, it's okay, like your friends may be happy for you, like, and I'm not saying not to create stuff that you're proud of and content that you're proud of, and share your successes and achievements. Definitely do that, but you can be, and this is more for the companies kind of telling us how great they are. We don't want to engage with the companies telling us how great they are. We want to engage with the humans of the companies. We want to see what are their challenges, day-to-day challenges, so we can resonate with them and have empathy for them and want to be part of their teams and know what's really happening. Because we all know, we all have our challenges in our day-to-day. We all know that life isn't perfect. So when we see something perfect, it looks like an advert to us, and we don't want that.
You know, I feel like when somebody pounds their chest on LinkedIn, which, you know, like what you said before, you want to be able to tell people your accomplishments and how you're moving up. And that's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, I always feel like you need to add that one or two sentences in your content to kind of bring you back down to like a humble stage, you know, to show that you are a human and you're not all about being arrogant and, you know, with this big ego.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's kind of what you were saying before, is it's okay to tell people about your accomplishments, but you got to stay humble as well, right?
Yeah.
Because people want to interact with humans, and the same thing goes with a construction company as well. There's some people who just post and post, this is how we do it, this is where we're great, we're the best at this, you got to call us up, we're the only people who can do this. And to me, that just doesn't attract me. It never did, and it never will.
And it's not gonna attract your future employees.
And this kind of goes into another topic that I really wanted to talk about. Was a lot of contractors, they felt pressure many years ago, even before I think LinkedIn was even becoming popular, to make a website, right? And they made this website, and then there's the about section in the website, and it talks about this phenomenal culture they have and how great of a company they are. Meanwhile, I very well know many contractors do not have a great culture and are not, and really need a lot of work, you know. And to me, like, websites are a bit sticky, because one, contractors don't update their websites often, right? And they'll admit, oh, I haven't touched that website in 10 years. Well, why not?
Yeah.
You know, why aren't you putting new projects on, new content? Yeah. Is there somebody who's kind of blogging and within your company, right? So if you're not going to take it serious, then just do a simple landing page and that's it, and call it the day. Don't lie about who you are as a person, right? So, you know, what's your take on websites and construction? Because a lot of tech companies, a lot of these other industries, they're constantly updating their websites, and they got these big fancy websites, you know. So tech is not big. It's becoming much larger in the construction industry. But what's your take on websites?
So I'll tell you what, I think that if you don't have if you don't have today, and it goes back to what I said before, if you don't have today an active digital presence, and that a lot of times is mainly on social media, but sometimes people want to have a deeper dive into who you are as an organization, and they'll do that on the website. If you're not updated, showcasing values that people want to be a part of, you basically don't exist, and you're not going to attract the business opportunities and not the future workforce. And I think, you know, we can see from a mile away companies that aren't genuine and that look fake to us, and that are showcasing things that we know they don't believe in. And I think it's because, you know, today I want to talk a bit about the workforce and the industry, because I think this comes up in any conversation that I have at the moment, that we have a diminishing workforce. People, college grads, have other opportunities at the moment that are not always in construction. And that means, I just wrote a post about it. I think that in the last 10 years, like up to between 2011 and 2021, I think that those were the years, about 2 million people joined the construction industry. Trades, engineers, everything together. Do you know how many people are projected to join the industry between 2021 and 2031?
No, I don't. How much?
Yes, Jerry. Yes.
500,000.
500,000? 200,000.
Wow. But is that both trades and management, or just trades?
Yeah. No, that's everything.
That's everything. So that's
Everything
civil
construction.
engineers, that's
Everything.
surveyors, that's wow.
There are
That's wild.
7.5 million people, about, I think it's a bit more, in construction in the US at the moment. In the next 10 years, that number will grow by 200,000. This means, and this, I
Hey, David, your Wi-Fi is out again.
This means the competition for a civil engineer is going to be through the roof, because there's no one else. And I'll tell you what, even if you get great engineers in your system, right, in your organization, there's, like, with the work coming down the pipeline, with the infrastructure bill coming down the pipeline, you're still not going to be able to take advantage of all the opportunities out there. And that goes into another conversation. How do I turn that one civil engineer that I have now and give him the capabilities of 10, 20 civil engineers? And I think that's where technology comes into play, but that's a different conversation than marketing. So,
yeah. You know, I mean, over here in New York City, there's just so much work, and there's also a lot of people here that are looking for work as well. So a person like me doesn't really see what you're talking about as much, but I read about it all the time, and I talk to people such as yourself and so many other people who talk about it all the time as well. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting that a lot of people don't want to get into civil engineering. You know, okay, so there's trades, right? Trades. It's not easy to throw a 50-pound bag of cement on your back for 30, 40 years of your life. So for me, it's really hard to tell a young kid, yeah, become a laborer, you know, because, I mean, listen, I'm going to say it the way it is, right? Over here, there's a lot of New York City unions. I've worked with people that I can probably call my hero in the New York City unions. I mean, these people are extremely hard workers. A lot of them are immigrants from another country. They came here, they got right into the trades, and they produced. They gave back to the American dream, you know. And but aside from that, when they retired at 55, 60 years old, I heard a lot of them didn't make it for several years beyond that, you know. And
wow.
it's tough to push somebody to get into that trade.
Terrible.
But here's the thing, you know, OSHA is really getting down, and like, for example, silica. You know, silica's become a very big thing for the construction industry for the past couple of years. You know, they're pushing masks, they're pushing PPE. You know, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to advocate somebody to get into a business that they're not going to have longevity over as well. I love construction. I love doing work around my house. It really allows me to zone out and be in a peaceful state when I'm doing work with my hands. But at the same time, when you're doing it all day long, for example, I had a retaining wall built in the back of my house, right? There was hundreds of 70-pound blocks that had to be carried from the front of my house to the back of my house. While I was working, my wife told me, Jerry, every morning there's 5 people that start. By the end of the day, there's only 2 people left. It's the 2 owners. Everybody, and then finally, after a couple of days, the owner's like, listen, I don't know if you realize it, but I'm having a hard time completing your project because everybody's quitting on me. Nobody wants to carry a 70-pound block from the front of your house to the back of your house. But I gave you a commitment, and I'm going to finish your job. And I, you know, I was really thankful of that as well. I mean, I'm not sure where I'm going with this. It's just one of those topics that I feel like I need to bring up because I feel everybody's pushing everybody to get into the business, but people need to really. It's tough when you're 22 years old and you're telling an 18-year-old to get into construction, to become a construction laborer. It's not that easy. It really is not that easy. People really have to understand what they're getting themselves into as well. And I think that mindset, because for me, mindset has been so big for me. So mindset is so important in this business. You have to really understand how your career is going to progress the next 30, 40 years for you to really allow it to become a sustainable career for yourself. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I have another stat for you that I heard on one of our podcasts about surveyors. that we have 3,000 surveyors leaving the industry every
Yeah,
year.
I saw that. Right.
We have only 300 coming in.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I think what I'm trying to say is, and everyone, when you talk to them about the workforce, they talk about education, and we need to go to the high schools, and we need to do all of that. You know, it's hard for me to say because I'm not a civil engineer. I'm not from the industry. I'm a guest. I really do feel like a guest in the industry. But as someone looking from the outside, I'm telling you, it's not about education. It's not about doing this marketing for the trades. It's not about that. It's about these people have other choices now. So, and what this means is that organizations in the industry need to start thinking, okay, how am I making my organization more efficient and more productive? How am I doing that? Because I'm not going to have the same workforce that I have in 5 years. It's not, no way that that's going to happen. And even if even if I'm close to that, or even if I'm one of the lucky organizations that do, how am I going to retain these people and attract people who are at the standard that are A players that I want them to be in my organization? And the answer to that, I think, is I know cliche, but it's marketing.
Yeah.
It's building a brand. And
Yeah.
it's understanding that the brand you build now, and this is really an opportunity here for the construction companies to build a brand right now because it's empty. There's not a lot of content creators in the industry. There's not a lot of known brands in the industry besides the legacy brands. You don't have that. And that means that companies can be the ones now, like the first ones to do it will be the ones building brands. They will be the brands, they will be the companies that people want to work for. So
Yeah.
if you want to secure the future of your company, of your organization, put a budget aside for the next 5 to 10 years and make sure that your brand and marketing is working. Because otherwise, you're not going to get opportunities and people are not going to come to work for you.
Yeah.
That sounds very harsh, but it's as a guest looking from the outside in and interacting with the industry every day. That's really what I believe.
Yeah, but and it's even for the people that are actually working for you as well. They want to know that they're working for somebody
They
who's
want to be proud of their
pushing
work.
and pushing to be the best,
Yep. Yep.
and this is a great way to kind of show that for your existing employees as well.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know several people who have left their companies because there were some policy changes in the company that kind of took them away from the spotlight. And then
Yep.
people were calling them up, like suppliers and vendors, saying, "Hey, what's going on? Is your company going out of business? Because we don't see you guys around no more. You guys aren't spending money. You guys aren't going to the networking events, the trade shows.
Yep.
There's some major networking events that happen over here in New York, and I'm sure in every single state. And it costs a couple $100 per person to go to these networking events, and so to get one table at this networking event would cost several $1,000s, and people automatically thought that they were trying to save money because the company was going out of business. And I know several people who left their companies because of that. Meanwhile, it had nothing to do with that. It was just the upper management just didn't want to be in that spotlight because they were extreme introverts, right? And they didn't want to be a part of those networking events. So they took the whole company away from the spotlight. And not building your company and not letting everybody know what you're doing is just old school. It's old school. It's pre-social media. But let's get into another topic. It's trade shows. What are your thoughts on trade shows? I mean, I think they still work, but at the same time, these like right now, there's the Con Expo going on in Vegas, right? And it's fantastic.
Three big ones going on this week. There's AC,
right.
There was Con Expo, and DBIA. I think.
Right, and then there was the New York Expo as well, which one of my buddies went to, and he's like, "Listen, it's just thousands and thousands. I mean, Con Expo's probably got hundreds of thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands. I really don't know, but if you're an individual, you really get lost in that crowd, But it's a great learning experience. I went, I believe it was 6 years ago. I went. Hopefully, in 3 years, I'll be able to go again. I'm going to try to go to the Concrete Expo in January. But what are your thoughts on trade shows? I mean, we've been talking a lot about social media, websites, but what are your thoughts on actual human interaction, one-on-one?
So, first of all, I think that nothing can replace human interaction.
Yeah.
I think that it's, especially in our industry, at the end of the day, you need to be able to trust the person.
Yeah.
And there are ways of building trust like we're doing now and like other people are doing online, but there's something about doing that face-to-face that you just can't replace. Having said that, I think that the place and importance of conferences in not just in construction, but any in the business realm has gone down. And the reason why I think that is because it's like you said, a lot of people in our industry, for example, got used to going to Vegas once in 6 months or going to these big conferences once a quarter, whatever it is. They would meet the counterparts in the industry, shake hands, and close deals, and that was kind of their networking event to create more opportunities for the company. I think my stance on that is that what you do, your presence online, is much more important because, like I said before, LinkedIn specifically is an ongoing 24/7 networking party. You don't need to wait 3-6 months to the next industry event to go network. You can do that right now, every day when you get up, spend 5 minutes, write something on your own, comment on your friend's posts, and you've networked for the day and you've stayed relevant that day. And there's a big chance that if you do that consistently, and when I say consistently, it's not one day a week, it's not one day a month, it's every day or every second day.
Yeah.
When you do that, you create meaningful opportunities because you have a meaningful presence in people's minds.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, what do I think about conferences? I think they're important.
Yeah.
But I think that what your online presence in 2023 is more important.
All right. Well, David, I mean, we can go on for days about this topic.
Forever.
Maybe we should have another, and maybe we should have another webinar soon. But we are approaching the top of the hour, and we need to start wrapping up. And I think that's a great place to stop. So, I want you to tell everybody, I want you to have some final thoughts and tell everybody how they can find you as well.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Jerry, for setting this up, and I think just generally, Jerry's a great guy. You should be following him on social media, on LinkedIn, if you aren't already. About me, not many final thoughts, but always happy to help anyone in the industry, any organization that's considering dabbling with marketing. I'm more than happy to help. Just send me a message on LinkedIn. Happy to give my point of view on things, whatever that's worth. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll finish off as well. Jerry Aliberti, principal at Pro-Accel. I help heavy civil contractors who are challenged with poor cash flow and inconsistent project execution to create a more sustainable project success and profitability. My email address is on the bottom of the screen. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm all over LinkedIn as well. And now I've been putting a lot of these videos on YouTube. So I'm starting to gain my YouTube presence as well. But David, thanks again, man. I mean, we've been following each other. You're one of the original people that I've been following on LinkedIn. So I really appreciate all the assistance that you've been giving me on the marketing side, and let's continue to talk and let's have this again, man. We'll talk. Thank you.